former HE, Robert Mugabe, had passed on, and there was this circulation about the cascade, which was computerized, they did computers and the like. And the first thing I was told was, I'll say this in the vernacular in Shona, wakaona ere cascade racho shamwa, angane magets, angane computer mkati, you know, and people really believed that. It's something that people really believed. So without awareness, without proper awareness, people really believe anything that they see on social media. And this is really damning. So I think more awareness campaigns and much more should be done in the area of fake news, disinformation, misinformation, and the new phenomena of deep fake. I thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yes, we can clap properly. Thank you so much. We have 90 minutes left for those questions, for those contributions to come. Feel free. There's a hand at the back as the mic is going there. Probably one thing that we'll encourage each other as well to do after this is to hope that I'm sure on the program there is what is the way forward that the engineer is going to give us. Is to hope that there be action matrices. What do we do after this, isn't it? So that we just do not meet. There are a lot of new faces that we saw today. You didn't know that apparently in the ZRP they actually feel are done as well. We didn't know that they also tried to do a lot of things. Is it not bad though for our country, just as a question that I've thrown out there, that in as much as we would boast to have the highest literacy rate in Africa, our people are losing money over a simple fake text that says, send us your password. Send us your PIN. I'm sure those are the cases that he's talking about. Where someone just receives a message and then down there it's written from Barclays. And then the person does not even think twice. They send. Because it's written from who? From Barclays, from CBZ, from whatever bank. And then they get their money wiped out. All we are saying is, probably as technocrats who are in this room, we should look at the person in the mirror and we say, maybe we are not doing enough for our people.
Thank you very much. I thank you for the comments from the colleague from the ZRP. Surely there's more to be done. You find banks by nature, given all, because we're in a very stable economy, we were not a target for hackers for a long time. So people were so lethargic, they thought everything was okay. But I think we have also heightened our supervisory and regulatory responses to make sure that banks actually now have to submit on an annual basis what they are doing in terms of financial literacy, cyber security, and all those things have got actually to be done. But it's a process. Then also, we are also the teachers ourselves. We are born from families in the rural areas, most of us. But we don't take time to even advise our own king and kingsmen. The Reserve Bank alone, the ZRP alone, porters alone, ministry alone will not fight this. All of us have got to fight it. Then lastly, one of the issues which I think you can do, if it's taking 2 years to get information, surely, I think as a government unit, you can approach the Reserve Bank. If you are looking at banking issues, we have got a banking supervision division, and their details are on the website. You can phone them, come to them. You also work, I know, very closely with our financial intelligence unit, who deals with investigations as well. Surely, if there is a bank who has not performed for 2 years, surely they should have been reported to us. Then we could actually help. Then lastly, I just want to share a contribution on blockchain. Just a contribution. What I've noticed, thank you very much for the very good presentation on blockchain. But I think the challenge we've had as a nation, in a country, is to link blockchain too much to financial services only.
Yeah.
Blockchain is a technology, it's like cloud computing or anything.
Yeah.
And blockchain is a great technology for all industries, from financial services to farming, to anything, it can actually help us. We need to harness blockchain. And I know some of the companies in the country already looking at some blockchain solutions. However, the issue of digital currency is an issue which is under a lot of debate currently in terms of whether we should go central bank issued digital currency or whether it should be distributed as what the people thought, that it should be borderless, not controlled. That's how Bitcoin and all these things came in. But you cannot have such a system, unfortunately. So we have issued cautionary statements as a central bank because no many central banks in the region, even worldwide, have adopted digital currency in digital currency and digital assets. They are still studying. It's only a few who are going to, I think you know, at the moment there is a lot of debate on Libra. And I think the United States Senate is debating and is almost saying no for now. So we need to be cautious. I know our people also want to move very fast so that they already have Bitcoins and it's okay, but you should also be aware of the issues. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. You should always be aware of the issues. Apparently, there's another hand. So as we move to the other hand, something that I will do as well is my abuse of the directorship. The question that I think we also would have and we also would make as an advocacy to the ministry are the issues that I think were coming now and again. Local developed solutions, is it? Local developed solutions, local developed solutions. You know, and I was just thinking off cuff that do you know that software developers in Zimbabwe export products? Do you know that you have development houses in Zim who are making those solutions that you then see and you talk about as Chinese ones? Yeah, that silence means you don't know. We know that. Yeah, a lot of development houses locally make those solutions that we then see now coming from the Western countries, from China. They actually outsource. If we were going to have developers here who are going to tell you the truth, they will tell you that they are engaged in online remote jobs, that they are developing solutions that when you see out there, you then say, wow. But those skills are not being used locally. Why? Because we would rather have a solution that is now coming back to us from China. I think that whole maize issue, where maize went to Zambia and then was now coming back as imported maize, and people were like, this is nice salsa, is it? Yes, but when it was local, they were like, hey, we don't know how they are farming these days. So we have to look at that. And also, legislation. I'm sure my colleague magistrate is not really the window as you know it. It's a window by it's a hypothetical one, is it? They're having to use laws that are not. So that's also another thing. Legislation. Can we have legislation that speaks the language? Is that okay? That does not second guess the language. That really is crystal clear that this is what we mean. We know what these things are and we are going to say them as they are, isn't it? Not leaving a lot of things superficial. For instance, who does the data belong to? We're talking about data, all that one, isn't it? Who does it belong to? It is collected from people. Who does it belong to? Secondly, how much are companies, some of them here with us, our sponsors, how much are they supposed to divulge and still protect their own image, but still empower the people? Should they come out and tell people that apparently yesterday our systems were hacked and your data was lost? Or they should just keep quiet so that they keep company integrity? All those things, they should be spelled out, I think. Yes.
Thank you very much, Master Director of Ceremonies. My contribution is just to acknowledge the contributions that have been made by this House as far as child online protection is concerned. issues to do with peer educators, where we use children to try and educate other children, and also issue of school clubs. I'm sure these are ideas that we welcome, and we want to encourage each and every one of us to be as innovative as possible and proffer solutions that can help us to protect our children whilst they are on the internet. Thank you.
Okay, there's another hand at the back. And another hand there. So we'll start where the mic is close. So I'll give you numbers. We have 1, we have 2, so that we move in that order so that the mic does not take long in flight. And then we have 3. Any other hand? I know normally it's easy to get a bit excited when it's about to end. They're like, I wanted to tell them, is it? Yeah, tell us now. So we have 3 hands. We have 4 now, isn't it? We have 5. So we're going to have those 5 hands, and then we have 6. Sorry, Doc. And then we have 6. I was just talking to the engineer, and he's saying a lot of things have been said. Some of the things that were supposed to be even part of his action matrix. And he's just hoping that there is someone from the ministry who was capturing all that which has been said. If there was no one, I hope they will start with these 6 hands, and I hope they will capture as much as they can. And probably use artificial intelligence to then generate more data from there, who are contributing those numbers. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My contribution is what you've just alluded to, the issue of data ownership. I happen to come from an organization that is also got large data repositories, and the issue of data ownership, whether it's for purposes, because you have technically allowed them to use the data as they want, but maybe from a consumer protection perspective, are those end user license agreements in tandem with the rights that I'm supposed to be entitled to as the rightful owner of the data? Or are those organizations then at liberty because I signed into that? And even if you go to the internet, you have certain websites that you cannot browse before you sign in or sign up, whatever the case may be. And by signing up, you first of all disclose certain personal information so that you can then access the website and then access certain data. So those issues, in my view, and cookies also. You have websites where you log in and you're told this website uses cookies, and and by so doing, you then open up to certain issues like phishing and other threats. So, but the whole issue is, who is the rightful owner of the data? Can we be protected from a legislative perspective, even if I have signed that EUL? Does it mean I have signed away my rights to the data? Can it be used anyhow? So those issues, I think it will require some legislation to actually protect consumers. But again, we'll acknowledge that we have said most of these softwares are external, are foreign. If I sign a consent, so to speak, with Google, for instance, even if we have legislative framework here, it may not apply. So the issue is about then having the right legislative framework and also going as much as we can in terms of internal development of the solutions. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yes, second.
Thank you. Director of Ceremonies, I do have just maybe 2 points to make, but these are policy related. I think in theory, basically it is understood that the latecomer can, in terms of technology, can take advantage of being late on the market to actually leapfrog into the future. However, looking at this, and when we look at the Zimbabwean situation, which might mean that we are late comers in terms of coming up with a cyber security policy, that could be an advantage. And I want to ask the Honourable Minister, to what extent is the policy that's coming out, or the law, that the proposed law, futuristic, so that we avoid being reactive? Already when you look at some of the issues that are raised in, we are now beginning to get new terms, such as, the big fake and so on. So when you look at that policy, to what extent does it allude to the current threats? You're also looking at it from the time that it was gazetted up to now, that it has not been, come to fruition. Do we not risk having a law that will be outdated actually before it becomes law? That's the first one. Also related to that is just looking at the composition of the Cyber Security Committee that should advise the Minister in terms of policy and so on. And you tend to find that there's a very good representation of the security arms. You've got all the security arms. You tend to have the financial intelligence units from the Reserve Bank and so on. Everyone is on there. But you find that glaringly, what is missing is that we've been talking here about this data that we're talking about, and you're actually looking at it as it being an asset that's coming out of the public. And that doesn't seem, it means that in terms of the policy that's going to be coming out, we're not actually going to be capturing what is coming out of the public, because there is no person who is a commoner on the people who are actually part of that. You also look at it from another element, which deals with, I'm from information, I'm a journalist all my life. I have another life in a different field. But when you look at it, you tend to find that a lot of this information is going to be infringing on the right to freedom of expression, the right to privacy, and so on. And you tend to find that that community also is not catered for. I'm not sure whether this is part of the political fights within the government, where you do have information as in freedom of expression sitting in a different ministry, and the other information. And once we split this, the Zimbabwean situation is actually the opposite of where the world is going. The world is going towards convergence, and it is only in Zimbabwe where you actually find that Zimbabwe is going into divergence, and going into divergence from a point where initially it was convergent. So we're actually doing the opposite. I do not know where we are, how far, or what the moves are to harmonize this. Thank you, Honourable Minister.
Thank you. We'll give them the chance to answer. Give them the chance to answer. You can go ahead.
Okay, thank you, and greetings everyone. My name is Chikumbilike from Potras. I'm going to make a contribution that relates to awareness. I think awareness is quite an important phenomenon. You realize that there is a widespread use of the social media, the Facebook, the Twitter, and things like that, and people are ignorantly donating free information to people that they do not know. People actually feel safer to donate everything about them to someone that they do not know behind social media than they actually do to people that they can see. So we see that we have got someone who ends up knowing everything about you, and even more than what you know about yourself. Let me just give an example. We have seen that maybe those of us who are frequent Facebook users, you come to a point where maybe a specific advert is coming specifically to you. Who knows that you're expecting? Now they are advertising Huggies. What are those pampers called? Huggies, isn't it? They are advertising Huggies just to you. After a few minutes, Huggies comes up. Who do you tell that you're expecting? So because of your behavior on the social media, someone will take a pattern, will pick up a pattern of the things that are happening around your life. And this information, for your own information, will actually be sold in places like the dark web and things like that. And that opens room for a lot of hacking and cyber threats in our lives. So I believe that no one will take responsibility for informing users. Google will not take responsibility for protecting data. Facebook will not take responsibility for protecting people's data. It remains our responsibility as authorities. So we need to have much of these awareness campaigns. And the battle against cybercrime is not just restricted to men. It's a battle for both men and women. I wanted to actually take note of the women representation. Most of our facilitators were actually male, but we had one, at least two, as a lady. So ladies are also featured. We could give a round of applause to ladies who are taking a leading role in fighting cybercrime. So people generally give information too much, and this is the information that's being sold at the dark web. Who do we find there at the dark web? All the bad guys. That's where they are. Credit card information. Someone was saying during our group discussions that as we speak right now, credit card details are being sold at the dark web for $10 US. Your login details to your various accounts are being sold for $50. Medical aids selling as much as $1,000. Where are these people getting this information from? We are volunteering this information to them. And that becomes a very big challenge. So let me say it's free. There's an app that came recently called Face App. I think some of us know about it. Face App. It was very fun. You take a picture of yourself, you send it online. The app tries to predict how you're going to be looking 10 years from now, 20 years from now. It's fun. It's free. But do we ever pause to think and say, so someone has got a database of our faces. What can they possibly do with it? So we need to have awareness campaigns so that people be quite conscious of exactly what they're doing when they do whatever they do online.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. How about you, sir?
Good afternoon. My name is Breakaway Sessions from Financial Crimes Investigators. I want to build from what my colleague, besides Dr. Engineer Shonio from Commercial Crimes Unit, where he says it takes almost 3 years to get a response from financial institutions. I think that is actually an insult to legislation or to our prosecuting authorities, because one of the ways of actually curbing these cyber crimes is actually to prosecute, convict, and punish these people. So if we are taking 2 years to actually get that information, then we are actually far away from prosecuting. Because when we are dealing with digital evidence is built on the Joubert principle, of which the Joubert principle actually deals with the metadata. And the metadata changes as soon as that data is not captured or stored in any other way. Usually it's imaged such that it can be used in a court of law. As he is saying, if that data gets it maybe after 2 years, then the case is likely not to be won in court. The defense lawyers will definitely use those Joubert principles to win the case. Therefore, what I need to know from the Honorable Minister, possibly I would have wanted to know it from maybe the Minister of Justice, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs, of how much as a country have we prepared ourselves to use electronic or digital evidence in court such that we can data these cyber crimes. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, colleagues. My name is Shami Moyo. I'm the ICT Director at SIMRA. I would like to take this opportunity to thank the Ministry for organizing this Indaba. We took it very seriously, and we took the whole ICT team management came here, Engineer Shora, we took the invitation seriously. We understand what it really means for the nation and for us as the Revenue Authority. I would like to then quickly give my inputs in terms of a few points here. There is an expression that says, data is the new oil. So we all need to appreciate the importance of data. But I also want to go on and say, we have no reason or any excuse of finding ourselves as what was mentioned in the morning, victims of data colonialism. We don't have to suffer that. And it is not too late. That's why I'm very thankful of the Ministry's all-inclusive Indaba. I think it's time we really look at ourselves and what we need to do. And this should not be just a talk show. I think we really have to have action items going forward. As a way, one of the areas which we need to look at seriously is to look at using our own solutions. Because when we talk of data, you need to check how this data is created. Already there are people who are saying we are creators of data, they are creators of information. Meaning that we are already being given a stigma of being consumers whilst they are those who have got the intelligence. But I would like to say, when it comes to systems development, software development, there's no disadvantage. If you know how to write programs today, it doesn't matter if somebody knew about it years earlier, surely we'll come up with our own solutions. And it is more of a mindset that I think we need to address and realize that we can do it. And it is time we actually do that. So let's start developing our own solutions, our own platforms. Okay, we may not have the technology to produce servers and so on, but we can develop systems. And most of the platforms that we're talking about, when we're talking about the big players, this is software. This is software that we're talking about. So there's no reason really whatsoever for us not to participate. And as such, I just want to encourage all of us and say this awareness, I'm repeating what you mentioned, I was struck by the fact that at least if we who are all here are aware that there is need to protect our data and to start participating strongly, it's not too late. We can indeed live from and start to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Director of our ceremonies. I would want to begin by commending the Ministry for bringing us all here, and also for at least getting out of the normal Zimbabwean mindset, whereby ministries or departments actually believe that certain things are theirs, you know, the silo mentality that we see. If they decided that cyber security is resident, you know, in the Ministry of ICT and Chinuchavo, they would not have brought all of us here. So to begin with, that is a plus. And building on that plus, we would want now to say, okay, we have had very good presentations. We have been told about bad things that can happen. We have also been told about the possibilities, the opportunities that are there. We also know the dangers, the threats, everything. So what? Where are we going from here? Are we going to then say, the ministry, you go and look after all this that we have told you, and then come up with some positions? Or we are going to say to the ministry, is it not possible, now that you know that this problem is all encompassing, and you cannot solve this problem alone, but you need all of us, is it not possible for us now to come up with a committee that looks into this matter? Because this matter will not go away anytime soon. It will be with us. Should we wait until the next Cyber Security Month next year, whilst we are being attacked right, left, and center? I heard that some of those who are being attacked do not even know that they are being attacked. Some of those who are attacked do not want to say they have been attacked because they want to maintain company integrity. So the danger is bigger than we think. And I feel that there is need for us to really come up with something that we can sell to the executive, to the to our country, through our ministry, that having realized this problem, we have decided, all those like-minded who are here, who would want to fight cyber security, we have decided to come together and form a committee that then, fights this thing. You cannot fight it alone. The other point I want to make is that, we have talked of awareness campaigns and all that. These are activities that require a lot of funding. And as you are aware, our ministry should be the least funded actually. And yet, it's facing a huge problem, especially this one. Huge attacks, and yet it's the least funded. Is it not also a good idea for this Indaba, which has been broadcasted, there is a very crucial, important at this juncture? Is it not possible for us to also put our voice to the lack of funding for the ministry, for them to be able to derive cyber security? Because you need quite a lot of money to do so. We have, I think we have also talked of the solutions. The solutions, yes. When I was in Rwanda, we met some institutions there, and they indicated that there were solutions coming from Zimbabwe. Very good solutions actually, which they were adopting. So our youngsters are exporting these solutions out there because there is no one coordinating them. And I try to find out where they are. Of all places, they are at the Market Square area. That's where they operate from. Yeah. And they are doing wonderful pieces of work. Again, we need funding. We need ministry to be coordinating that, to ensure that the country actually benefits. Because at the moment the country is not benefiting, and even those who are producing those solutions are also not benefiting fully because they are actually being exploited, in the process. Ladies and gentlemen, I think those are the issues I thought I could just flag. Thank you.
I think it's now over to the engineer. Did I miss any hand? So he is the one who is going to then know how the order is going to be like. said by him, and then the Deputy Minister responds to those questions, which I think would be the most appropriate. So it's now over to Engineer Bishop. Thank you. Can we give him a round of applause?
Thank you, Director of Ceremonies. Good afternoon, and I am so happy because you are all alert. You can see your faces, you can see the way you are eager to contribute is an indication of the alertness which is amongst you. And I'm so happy about that, and I must thank you personally for being with us from morning till this hour. As I sat and listened to presentation after presentation, I could not stop saying to myself, is this written somewhere? I just hope that the groups have written something down which they can hand over to the ministry so that we can peruse later and also come up with what I think is a true reflection of what has happened during this very important conference. I say to myself, even when you heard people talking about the discussions in the groups, it appears as if everyone participated in the group. And if that is a true case, which means therefore the ministry should open its channels for the stakeholders so that they can communicate with the ministry about their views and strategies as to how best we can address, as I said in the morning, this elephant in the house. You have spoken about the legal issues. We hear you. It is our responsibility, and we continue to work very hard on establishing the legal frameworks. The Honorable Deputy Minister, our guest of honor, indicated that the cyber crime and data protection bill will soon be before Parliament. And this is a very important piece of legislation. And we would want to make sure that as soon as it has been, accepted, endorsed by Parliament and presented to the head of state, once it is signed into an act, we will move with speed to do the implementation. But this is only part of the legislation question is asking what we are going to do. There is another piece of legislation which is also in the pipeline. That is the electronic transaction bill. The electronic transaction bill, I think those from the RBZ will be very much interested in this one as well, because we know as government we are not participating actively in the affairs and issues regarding electronic transaction, particularly on the financial side. So we hope that as soon as this one comes in, we will feel that at least we are participating. There was talk of legislation that safeguards children's while they are online. And I'm sure there are bits and pieces of policies and regulations. It's a question of now trying to condense these into one consolidated piece of legislation, and we will look into that. It has come as a request as well. And we also have been requested, I think it came from somewhere, that we need to also align our laws with the regional and international laws that govern cyber security. And we will proceed to do that. The guest of honor is here. This is some of the things which we will actually put on his to-do list so that he can assist going forward. In terms of organizational framework, I am happy that the Director General from Potras spoke about some of the key issues, and I'm sure you all agreed that we need to set up a committee because I didn't see anyone objecting to those forward-looking proposals. But let me say that we would want to, first of all, make reference to the Internet Exchange point. The Internet Exchange point is also governed through a committee of stakeholders. Unfortunately, sometimes we don't walk the talk. So we agree that we will set up a committee, but you might see that other people do not contribute, do not participate when we have set up a committee. Because like the IXP committee which I am talking about, it would have helped us fight cyber threats, because we will be doing things collectively. But unfortunately, we are not moving in that direction as a body. There is also need to set up cyber units, and I think these are clubs. You know, we have, in the past we used to have internet clubs. We need to have some clubs focusing on some activities. And this is another club which I think would be very much interesting to set up at organizations, at even tertiary institutions. You can have a cyber security awareness club, because it is very important so that we don't only talk about cyber security once a year when we come together as we have done in this format. So we are also proposing that in addition to having the committee, let's set up cyber security awareness clubs. Even at schools, it would be very good if we can also propose this to the Ministry of Primary and Secondary Education, as well as to higher and tertiary education institutions. There is something that came to mind. Potras have a key role to play as the regulator of the sector. And we just hope that we will continue to ask them to assist us as a ministry, particularly in the road shows. Road shows that will take into consideration and focus on cyber security awareness. Remember, Potras has been supporting the hackathons, and it will be very good if some of these hackathons can be extended and interlinked to software development, which has been talked about here. I must say that when I heard that there is software that is being developed in the country and going out, I didn't feel very comfortable, because it shows that we are lacking coordination. That's number one. Secondly, there are certain people who are being exploited right in front of us, because that software would have benefited the country and the developer equally. But I can tell you that there might be some other guy there who is pretending to be supporting these developers, yet they are being exploited. So I don't know, perhaps the director of ceremony is my good friend. You have to try and come up with another smart way of how we can coordinate the development of local software. I must say that the problem sometimes we have is the silo mentality. The silo mentality is not only affecting some organizations in government, but it also affects us as individuals, as even institutions. Some people don't want to share their knowledge they don't want to indicate their capabilities and capacities free, to the extent that they will fall prey to those people who are out to exploit people with such capacities. If we are to coordinate software development in this country, leveraging on the high literacy level that we have, I'm telling you, the software development industry will be a very big industry in this country. We have tried to persuade people to develop software, and even in animation, gaming, and we know that we can do it because people are very imaginative, but unfortunately it's not coming together. So I hope my request to HIT NAST, please help us so that we can coordinate software development in the country. I also heard of reputational risks from organizations. It was not interesting, but Director General Potras, you also made reference to that. It's very sad, but let's help them. Let's help them. From here, I would want to state just a few additional statements. I talk of finalizing proceedings of the Cyber Security Awareness Month. So we will have a document that will contain what actually took place from the day the Cyber Security Awareness campaign was launched, right up to the day we concluded this event with this conference. You are also aware that we were supposed to have a public lecture tomorrow. Unfortunately, we could not proceed because NAST has another very important engagement, because it was going to be hosted at NAST. So, which meant that the rounding up of the Cyber Security Awareness program was meant to have a conference and then a public lecture. So thank you very much, NAST, for supporting, and we acknowledge your presence even at this important conference. We will also compile recommendations. So in the proceedings, you will see some recommendations that will have come from each and every gathering that took place during the month. And for us to get in touch with all of you, we are requesting that we have your names and your email details so that we can quickly share information. We also have picked up that there is need to translate some of our work into local languages. I think we would need sponsorship for that. It's unfortunate that the ministry at the moment operates on a shoestring budget, and we believe that with some sponsorship we can go very far. So this is something which we are also throwing to you. Should some of you have some ideas on how we can translate some of our work so that they reach out to citizens in their local languages. We will, I think, perhaps conclude by thanking all of you for participating, and also thanking Potras and Net1 for sponsorship. I would want to perhaps invite the Honorable Minister to say a few words, but before I do that, perhaps there are some interventions. I don't know, Director of Ceremonies, if you allow me, should there be some interventions because after the guest of honor has spoken, then no one else should speak. Some interventions.
There was a fellow from Mrs. Kuzwadeda, but I don't know if there are any other interventions. She just wants to say farewell from Flower. So that after the guest of honor, as you are saying, no one else speaks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Come to my sister.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. The Director of Ceremonies, Minister of State for Bulawayo Metropolitan Province, Honorable Judith Mube, the Deputy Minister of ICT, Postal and Courier Services, Honorable James Were, Members of Parliament here present, Secretary for ICT, Postal and Courier Service, Engineer SM Kundishora, Senior government officials here present, directors and staff from the Ministry of ICT's, Portras Director General Dr. G.K. Machengeti, Net1 CEO Mr. Eom Chenje, presenters on cyber security, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is a great honor and privilege for me to be called upon to give a vote of thanks on this important occasion of an Indaba on cyber security, a topical issue in this fast technological growing era. It is my hope that we have all benefited and that we are going to arm those who did not attend this important Indaba. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to honor the Honorable Deputy Minister Mswere for being with us today and for the keynote address. But most importantly, we want to thank the Honorable Minister for coming up with the idea of having these conferences on cybersecurity here in Bulawayo and in Harare. This shows that he is a visionary leader of the sector and that he is indeed a leader with passion on security systems, as we heard from his introductory remarks. The Secretary for ICT, Dr. Engineer SM Kundishora and his team, they worked hard in support of the minister. We want to thank them for that. They actually have been having sleepless nights putting things together. We thank you so much. Many thanks go to the presenters and facilitators during this Indaba. You made a day for all of us. Preparing the presentations is not a joke. It requires commitment and sharing of a national vision. We heartily thank you. It is, ladies and gentlemen, this gathering of mixed ranks who left their other commitments to come here. You are special people. You make it happen. Ladies and gentlemen, I heartily thank you for coming and participating in this forum. For all logistical issues that include this spacious venue, the teas and the food, many thanks to our sponsors, Portras and Net1. The whole event could not have been a success had it not been for the well-fed stomachs. It is the importance that we attach to national issues and in particular ICT that push you for such good work. We thank you so much. May you keep the fire burning. Last but not least, our media team, thank you very much for being with us today. There is really need for continuous coverage of such events. We want to keep seeing publications on cybersecurity issues even beyond the month of October. We thank you so very much. Ladies and gentlemen, now that this is done, each one of us has a role to play. Let us be at our positions so that what has been lectured to us becomes a reality. I thank you all.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much to you all. May I then ask our guest of honor to have the last word? Honorable Ministers.
Good afternoon to you all. I will just respond to a number of questions in terms of policy directions. Some of the questions which have been asked by, I think is from the media fraternity. He asked it with reference to, would the Cyber Security and Data Protection Bill be useful given the time frame that it has taken to develop? The answer is, the Cyber Security and Data Protection Bill will be useful when it is finally passed, given the fact that our objective as the Minister of ICT, Postal and Courier Service is to ensure that we have growth of the ICT sector, number one. Number two is to ensure that we've got the innovation aspect of ICTs. Number three, how do we ensure that we have sustainable ICT solutions and systems to develop the entire country? Number four, to ensure that how do we utilize ICT for the transformation of our economic policies? And number five, to ensure that we bridge the rural and urban divide. The Cyber Security and Data Protection Bill will be useful given the cyber criminal activities taking place in the country. This is a government of the people, for the people, by the people. The new dispensation has got the multi-sectoral approach, the stakeholder approach to everything. Legislation, social development, economic development, and everything else. That's why today we have the Cyber Security Indaba. Last but not least, this Cyber Security and Data Protection Bill is there to ensure that there is safety and security in the utilization of ICTs. With respect to our vision, we want to ensure that we have a knowledge-based society with ubiquitous connectivity. That's why we're bringing in this bill. Also, that legislation enactment process takes into consideration the parliament, and it also takes into consideration the outreach programs which are done through the Ministry of Justice to ensure that all contributions are taken into consideration whilst we develop any piece of legislation. Thank you. That's all I have to say.
Thank you so much, Minister. Now that you've been thanked, now that the closing remarks have been done, the Director of Ceremonies, I'm sure, has authority to actually say this meeting in the Indaba is open. Shall we give everyone a round of applause? And the Director of Ceremonies too. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.